What's going on, guys? My name is Hussein from the geodatabase team here at Esri, and today we're going to learn about validation attribute rules. These are the type of rules where you can run on demand and create errors as a result if some rule was violated. So how about we jump into it, guys? So this video is a requirement. You have to have watched the batch calculation rules, where we talked about how to publish, how to create the batch calculation rules, how to publish them, how to consume them, and all that stuff. So because I'm not going to do this in this video, I'm going to rely on a service that has been already published. All I'm going to do is add an additional rule, validation rule. So how about we do that, guys? So the first thing here I'm going to do is I have a service that has been published. So the first thing you need to do is basically stop the service, because we're doing a schema change on the server, right? So I'm going to go ahead and stop the centroid calculation service that we have done here, just to release all the locks. And we're going to go back to my geodatabase here. And it is also on the point class. So I'm going to go ahead, design attribute rules, and we're going to add, this time, not a batch calculation rule, but a validation rule. And validation rules expect either true or false. If you return true, that means the rule is good, has not been violated. If you return false, that means it has been violated. So let's say error if, let's call it error if point outside polygon. Let's just call it this. And all subtype, error number, you can create your own system error numbers if you want to, and just say, hey, error point feature is outside polygon. So this will not fail the edit or anything like that. It will just mark an error feature on the same position where the point feature is. So you can run QA/QC or go through these and fix them one by one, right? This is the idea of these on-demand validation classes, attribute rules. So let's do this. How do we do this? Very simple. We're going to create a polygon. We need to first get a cursor on the feature set on the polygon class, right? And store, and get the polygon class. And here's the thing. What we're interested in here? I am interested in, do I need the geometry back? Not really, if you think about it. I'm not going to use the geometry back, so I'm not going to ask for it. So these optimizations, guys, are very, very critical, because if you think these true or false can really double your performance if you think about it on a large set of rows, right? So if you don't need something, don't ask for it. Always, I keep repeating myself with this, but I cannot stress it enough. All right, so we get the polygon cursor. All we need to do is get the geometry, var point geometry equal geometry of $sign feature, and intersects. Let's get the first feature here, var polygon feature equal intersects the fs polygon with the point geometry. And if let's get the first feature, forgot to do that. The first feature of this intersection, right? If this is null, that means what? It means the point feature is not inside a polygon. So we return false, else we return true. If you want to be fancy, you can do something like that. If you like this kind of thing. I find this a little bit hard to read, but some programmers prefer this syntax, where you say, okay, if this is true, then we're going to return true, return false. So I think you have to flip it. I find this a little bit confusing. Up to you. Whatever you like, you do essentially. Validate and save. And now let's make sure hopefully we don't have a lock. So let's go ahead and save this. And since the classes are already added, we're not adding them at the end. We're gonna reuse the same classes again. So now let's go back to the service and start it up so we can pick up the new attribute rules, because we just changed the schema, if you think about it, of the class, right? So now, once this is added, let's go ahead and open it up again. And now let's create a point class that is kind of violates the rules, right? A point class outside the polygon. Point class outside the polygon, no, point class outside the polygon. And let's open the arrow inspector. And this time I'm gonna evaluate pretty much everything, full extent, sure. And make sure the validation is checked. So we run the validation rules as well. And let's see what will happen. Just like that. Oh, that was so fast. We got 3 errors as a result, right? And now on the extent. So you can see 1, 2, and 3. And you can see also almost the errors too, right? If I zoom in, you can almost see these errors as well. These are the point errors. And you can see the errors itself, point errors outside the geometry. We create them, and you can zoom to them from here. Mark them as exceptions, and pretty much anything that the error inspector. If you're familiar with the error inspector, this is not something new to you probably. So yeah, these are the errors. And if you fix it, how do you fix it? Just create it inside a polygon, right? It doesn't have to be a circle, by the way. If I do this now, and if I make any edit to this feature, and now evaluate again, you can see that this point feature has gone. So now, guys, let's explore things a little bit. I'm gonna create a polygon here. If I evaluate it out, those will not go away. And the reason is almost like a 1-hour lecture. The reason is these were not candidate to be evaluated, and there is a field that we add to each class called the validation status. And maybe we can discuss this in another video just for this. But essentially, what this field tells us in the attribute rules, should I evaluate this feature or not? And this is purely for performance reasons, right? We cannot always evaluate every single row, right? So to us, this row is quote unquote clean because it doesn't require validation, doesn't require calculation. But see, if I touch this feature by making an edit, and that's what I did, if you notice on the first case, right? Now, this feature, if I identify it, it says calculation required and validation required. So that's the idea of this field. And you might say, Hussein, but I just fixed it. I just created a polygon on top of the point feature. Shouldn't the point feature be required evaluation? For sure, yes. And this is where it comes another idea where you can essentially mark features as requiring calculation. And we're going to discuss this in perhaps another video, but we can reference the documentations where the doc team did a great job classifying and talking about this concept of marking other feature. So in this case, what you want to do, creating a polygon feature, will find all the point classes and mark them as requiring validation, require calculation, so that the next validation will happen and it will clean up itself essentially. And we're adding features, additional features in the future releases where we will force you to evaluate everything regardless of the state of the feature. So that will be, and hopefully in another future releases. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Goodbye.